So what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Power Up Podcast. This is episode number 17. I'm joined here with my co-host, GregFPS. What's going on, Greg?
What's going on, everyone? How you doing today? Hope you're having a fantastic day.
We got a lot of stuff to cover. We got the entire timeline that's put out for us. We're talking about the Chronicles timeline and Black Ops 3, and we got Jimbothy here with us today. What's going on, Jimbo?
Hater! You know what's good.
Definitely, dude. You've been doing really good lately on YouTube. So have you, Greg. You've been blowing up, dude. This is the time to be a zombies YouTuber, it looks like.
I guess so, man. I just got lucky.
Yeah, you've been doing a lot really good tutorials, so it's really good to have a refresher on all these maps because things have changed a little bit.
Yeah.
So
definitely a lot of fun.
So we got a bunch of things we're going to talk about, and if you guys want to pull up the first thing I sent you of the origins of the Chronorium, there's a little bit of something in the timeline, and it's about Pablo. And what we know of Pablo Marinez is that he was the knight, right? That's on the mural in Shadows of Evil. Is that Pablo Marinez? Okay.
Yeah.
And so the quote reads, Pablo begins documenting the Great War, and this happened February 18th, 1300, including all he has learned about the Keepers, Apothecans, and Element 115. Regarding Element 115's power, he notes that a site in northern France, which we know as Origins, contains a massive deposit of the element. So this makes me think that Pablo's documenting of the Great War, I called it a journal, it might be something different, is the Chronorium. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that would make sense because Richtofen always has Pablo's journal. That's what he's looking for later on in the timeline to figure out what happened with the Apothecans and the Ether.
Yeah,
that makes sense actually.
Trying to bring it all together, it's just a log of time travel and everything. And how else did Richtofen know about it? And when did Origins take place? It was way after 1300, right?
I think it was 1918.
Yeah,
611 years.
So I'm starting to think now that the Chronorium did actually come from Pablo. It was him documenting the Great War.
That would make sense. I think you're onto something with that.
Nice.
I think you're onto something real good with that.
Oh, that's what's up. All right.
Yeah.
All right, well, it only gets better from here. Only gets better. Okay, so the next one we got here is Richtofen's diary. And as we know, he did drop it in Derice, and that resulted in the Ascension Group forming when the U.S. and the Soviet Union worked together and recovered all the artifacts on Derice and actually recovered Richtofen's diary. Had that event...
They were in a standoff.
Tell me what you think happened.
Well, they were in a standoff. They weren't working together.
The U.S. and the Soviet Union?
Yeah. They were in a standoff after the war.
Okay, let's take a look at the things that I sent you here, and we'll go ahead and read through that, and maybe we can get a little bit more.
Diary one, right?
Yeah, this is Richtofen's diary dropped, and what we're reading is from the actual timeline right now, so that way we can gather the most accurate information, and then we can really dive into it. So, starting on Shinonuma, it was the first instance of Richtofen losing his diary, but Ultimus traveled to the Rising Sun facility to recover the diary, and then when they did, Richtofen read it and began to form his plan to defeat Samantha. Now, he made a diary of the Chronorium. So, there's two different books here. There's Richtofen's diary, and there's Pablo's journal. So, we gotta keep that in mind. So, moving to the next quote, we have the Derice that happened October 28th of 1945. Ultimus returns to Derice with the diary. Richtofen's plans to use the teleporter to return to the moon and confront Samantha. Fortunately, the Wunderwaffe DG2 overloads the teleporter and sends them through time into Kino der Toten, and that causes Richtofen to drop the diary. So in 1945, Group 935 disbanded. The next year, January 19th, 1946, the United States and the Soviet Union share their resources recovered from Group 935's various research stations. Richthofen's diary is among the item recovered by the Soviet Union, which is Russia.
Man, that's so weird because I always thought they were in a standoff. Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
No, you might have been right. They did rewrite the storyline a little bit here with Chronicles. So this is maybe what they want us to understand versus what we used to know.
Yeah.
So you might not be wrong.
We do know that Yuri reads Richthofen's diary at Ascension and then starts becoming crazy and hearing Samantha.
So I guess I bring this up because this event in particular, if they were to go back in the timeline and change something that could significantly write off Jimmy Zielinski's work, this would be the moment they would do it. They would change the moment Richthofen dropped his diary, which would take away so much of the history that we know. And so I just wanted to bring it to all of our attention because the diary is important and it can be played upon in the upcoming future.
Do you guys find it weird, just as an aside, that it was the Wonderwaffe DG2, but not like the upgraded version that overloaded the teleporter?
Okay.
Like, I mean, the Pack Punch one's the DG3 JZ, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they want to take out the Jay-Z part.
Yeah.
You're just gonna hate.
That's good. The DG3, I think, was created by the Ascension group. It was either the United States and Groom Lake group or the Soviet Union. It was one of those groups that actually made the DG3 because they had the diary and were trying to advance the Wonderwaffe project even further on their own. And I guess that's what I read when I was reading through and gathering these quotes. And it was one of those groups. I can't remember which one exactly. But yeah, I don't know. Just a little bit of history there on Richthofen's diary. Some interesting stuff. Now this is where it gets a little weird because we know the undead Richthofen, and I have this theory that this is what's going on. And so we're going to talk about the undead Richthofen. Did he help acquire the Chronorium and the blood files from Victus, the transit crew, and give them to the Richthofen that we know in Black Ops 3? It's weird to think about, but when we read the quotes, this is what it seems to be. Alright, so the undead Richthofen. The Chronorium retrieved. Upon arriving at Zero Base, which, I don't remember what comic, it's either the 5th or the 4th comic they arrive at Zero Base.
I think.
4th one?
Yeah.
The transit crew, Victus, provides blood samples that allow them to access the empty Earth and recover the Chronorium. So just by hearing that, they're providing blood samples, their blood samples, to something so they can enter this empty Earth and recover the Chronorium. Because that's ultimately where it's located, in this empty Earth. I don't know if it is Pablo's journal, somehow it's in this empty Earth, and that's where they went to go get it. So the next thing I got for you is the blood acquired. Richthofen collects the Victus blood samples from undead Richthofen. What does that mean?
That must be, I'm assuming it's Primus Richthofen collecting it from the undead Richthofen. So at the end of Buried, Richthofen inhabits, because we went with the Maxis ending.
Yeah.
Richthofen's mind is in a zombie at random. So that would be the undead Richthofen that they're referring to.
Okay. Interesting.
It's really weird.
Because there's one other instance, I don't think I have it posted here, where they talk about the undead Richthofen again. But that timeline's so huge, it'd be hard to pinpoint it right now. But yeah, I always thought maybe there was a slight possibility that the comic zombie Richthofen had something to do with this.
Well, I think that is the undead Richthofen.
Okay, that is for sure who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he's somewhat conscious, which is kind of strange. and he could speak to this Richthofen that we know of. It's weird. It's weird how he can speak to all of his versions of himself in other timelines, and
that's crazy, yo.
Some of them can comprehend it.
Well, it could also be the old, like the Richthofen from the Black Ops 1 storyline, controlling the zombies from Moon.
Yeah.
In the MPD after he switches bodies with Samantha or whatever.
Okay.
So he could be controlling them that way. Because he also talks to Stuhlinger as well.
That's very true.
Weird stuff.
I can't wait for that last comic to come out. It's coming out soon, right? It's like we're only a month or so off.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. So hopefully this ties it all together from just the highlights, I guess, we got in the timeline, and we can really get a good picture of what happened underneath Alcatraz. That's what I'm thinking the last comic's going to be about, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope they actually give us more information, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, yeah, I kind of like to learn about the transit crew, but at the same time, like, not the biggest fan of the maps.
Just put them on ice for a bit.
Yeah. Need to chill with that. We don't need it.
And that's going to be definitely the last thing we talk about. But Greg, do you want to touch on number 4 here?
Yeah, Broken Arrow. So, on November 19th, 1963, in an effort to avoid another undead outbreak, the U.S. government creates the Broken Arrow program, establishing several facilities across the country. The Groom Lake program is folded into Broken Arrow.
And that's a Black Ops 2 event right there. So this is post-Moon with the explosions happening on Earth, and what's left of the government, at least with the United States efforts, they form it all into Broken Arrow, and that's what we know of as the sort of the corporation that's still existing beyond the means of destruction that's happening.
I want to know how they ended up creating the Denizens and the Avogadro, though. They're like, come on.
Yeah. They screwed up like so
Big
many
time.
fucking times in a row. Broken Arrow. Yeah, I'll show you Broken.
Oh man. The Denizens.
Hey, at
are
least
the
they
worst.
invented the Galvanuckles. That was cool.
I guess so.
So they're saying the Groom Lake program was also folded into Broken Arrow. What does that exactly mean? The
Groom Lake program is Area 51.
Interesting.
So I guess like the
Moon Base? Is the Moon Base under the control of Broken Arrow now?
Moon Base would have been, yeah.
Well, yeah,
property.
but it's not actually like Moon, because it's like the facility they use to get teleported to Moon.
Okay.
So I don't know. It's a little shady, man. Like, doesn't exactly make sense all the time.
I got another question for you, Greg. Groom Lake teleporter. Does it teleport to other places that maybe we just don't know of? And the Moon Base was just a place that Richthofen used it for.
That's interesting to think about. They could have gotten teleported from, like, we don't really know how they left Shangri-La to go to Moon, or not? Yeah, Shangri-La.
That's right. Yeah, I can't recall either.
Man. I mean, there was no like lunar lander or anything like there was from Kino to Ascension, which still boggles my mind because there's no lunar lander like on Kino at all.
Yeah,
like they could have put like a really cool Easter egg, just like put it on the roof so you can like barely
teleport. They could have used that.
Well, that morgue bus, just put the lunar lander right there. Come on.
Yeah.
Right inside of it.
Yeah, right inside of it. It's all one big lunar lander.
Yeah.
Nice. So that's pretty much it with, I guess, Broken Arrow. Just wanted to let you guys know that post-Moon is when the U.S. formed Broken Arrow with all the rest of their resources, and maybe not enough people knew that. And so, as we're reading the timeline, we felt it was important to bring up.
And what a failure Broken Arrow is, just to reiterate.
Yeah.
They made the Denizens and the Avogadro. They just constantly screw up every goddamn time, and they ruined Black Ops 2. They made Transit. There you go.
They did. That was all Broken Arrow's fault, was Transit.
Yeah.
Shitty characters, shitty Stuhlinger,
Mm-hmm.
shitty Marlton,
and Russman, who doesn't even have a personality.
Yeah.
And he was the one that worked for Broken Arrow. So not only did they create the Denizens, they created a soulless man who was just boring.
You're Russ Man! Russman! Don't you remember? And he just forgets and they're stuck in the desert.
And then he's like, he randomly whips out like a can of beans in the comic. Starts eating. Oh, jeez. Well, now we can talk about the saving grace of Black Ops 2 with Mob of the Dead. On July 4th, 1941.
And it's
The 4th of July, man. You'd think there would be something about the U.S. in there, but there isn't. Richtofen returns to the lab under Alcatraz, where he meets Victus, arriving from the empty Earth with the Chronorium. Upon reading the Chronorium, Richtofen discovers numerous timelines documenting their fates and learns about the blood vials. He would later write on the page, "I know what I must do." Edward Richtofen, 4th of July, 1941. Richtofen enters a rift to acquire the blood of Sal and Finn. After delivering the blood to his younger self and recovering the blood vials belonging to Victus, he returns. Victus is placed on ice to be kept safe until they are needed next.
This is the savior quote for Black Ops 4. Whatever it's going to be, whatever's going to happen, this is the last comic in itself. This is the most
so
beautiful.
Interesting to think about, though, because there's like 3 Richtofens at play right here. Like, not only does the undead Richtofen get the blood vials for Victus, but also this Richtofen from the Black Ops 1 storyline teleports to Origins to give that blood to Richtofen in Origins. It's weird.
Let's just let's reread that part one more time just so we fully. Upon reading the Chronorium, Richtofen discovers numerous timelines documenting their fates. When I think about that, who else has written and documented the fates of Ultimus and what's going on in the future in the Great War? Pablo. So it all comes together right here. These are documents of their other selves that have already been written down. Richtofen's now reading that information. So the only other person that's done that is who we talked about earlier, which is Pablo Marinas. So it's got to be the origin of the Chronorium. But he would later write on the page, "I know now what I must do," once he learns about the blood vials. So Richtofen enters a rift to acquire the blood of Sal and Finn. Doesn't necessarily say the old Richtofen. So it might still be our Primus Richtofen that we know now in Black Ops 3. Gets the blood in Sal and Finn blood vials. Delivers that to his younger self in Origins, maybe. And gives him those blood vials.
Yeah, because he had them in Origins.
And recovering the blood vials belonging to Victus, and recovering the blood vials belonging to Victus, he returns. So at that same point in time, after he delivers the blood vials to his younger self, he gets the blood vials from Victus. Now, I had something to add to that. So the Primus arrives under the lab at Alcatraz. In the lab under Alcatraz to collect the Primus blood vials from Richtofen. That's the Zetsubu no Shima Easter egg ending. We teleport away to some unknown location, then bam, all of our characters got blood vials. Those are the blood vials from the transit crew. All of our characters now in Black Ops 3 at the end of Zetsubu no Shima have transit crew blood vials on them. Then he teleports away from that moment once they get back to... it's the Richtofen that gives them the blood vials at the facility under Alcatraz. Then he teleports to Shadows of Evil to get the summoning key. But we continue our mission in Black Ops 3. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and like this is weird too because like also Richtofen was in the Illuminati and like he had the Illuminati fund this lab. Like it's really weird.
Yeah.
Because some of the other quotes are like Richtofen talked to Stanley Ferguson to like set up the production for the lab. Yeah, like
he's a security guard.
Yeah, and then on Shadows of Evil, there's like phone calls with like the radios obviously, but it's like the reporter talking to Stanley Ferguson.
Yeah.
About stuff like that. Cool.
So you guys like how the quote Richtofen wrote is on the actual timeline itself? Like,
yes.
This is the chronorium we're actually reading right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's gnarly.
Yeah.
And the end of this quote is so weird as well, because this is our next clue, I guess, for Chronicles, and it's Victus is placed on ice to be kept safe until they are needed next.
They better be on a good map, dude. That's all I'm saying. They need a good, like, to be on a good map. I mean, Buried was good.
We saw this actually in Dreisendrach on the reel that was going off. We saw some characters in like cryogenic chambers. Those are the transit crew.
You think so? Yeah.
I believe that is the transit crew.
Well, we
that would make sense.
So you know what doesn't make sense to me? We have.
What?
Isn't Pablo Marianas the Mexican test subject?
Yeah.
It's the same name, isn't it?
It is.
As the Sir Pablo?
Yeah, so in Call of the Dead, there's a radio where Richtofen like kills him by taking out his spleen.
Very vicious.
Also,
yeah.
Yeah, and then also on Dreisendrach in that reel, like in like next to Samantha's room, there's a spleen with the Black Sun Keeper logo on a spleen.
Yeah,
crazy.
That is interesting.
I don't know, man. Maybe they preserved his body or something.
I don't know if he was somewhat. He might have been an ancient type of character, and that's why his his spleen looked a certain way. Otherwise, it's a keeper spleen. I'm not sure.
Like, why would a Mexican be in like Europe or wherever Dreisendrach takes place, like Wharf in Austria or whatever? Just weird stuff, dude.
I guess you could maybe ask the same sort of question with like why Takio's here as well. Just because he's, I don't know, it just collected from all over the world, I imagine.
He's on a mission from the Emperor.
Dude, he got fooled big time, dude. That guy got trolled hard.
Yeah.
Dude, that's my favorite part of the cutscene when it's all like trippy and like moving around.
my life.
I made a meme for a video.
You did, yeah.
And it was like when you find out your girl's texting another guy, and then it cuts to that, and he's like, my life.
My life.
It's just like, oh.
That one was funny.
So funny. That was a good one, dude. That was definitely one of my better memes. I love making those ones, dude. They're so funny. But, oh man, good stuff. I don't know. There's so much storyline still that we don't know. Like he's like, this is gonna put it in brackets or whatever, but like I don't know about that, dude.
Well, from what I understand, Rad Austin explaining it, we have, when you look at the whole picture, there's all these spheres that you can sort of see, and those spheres are the dimensions. And if you were to think about the entire picture as like a glass frame, and those spheres at one point were separated, but if you were to shatter that like a mirror breaking, they all sort of jumble into each other. And that's the world that we're living in, with the fractures and stuff. Like a shattered mirror, but the dimensions of the shattered mirror will never exceed those limits. They will always be in those brackets of those dimensions. So we're focused in now on all these dimensions, and we're not going to go outside of that. That's what I think the cycle continuing was about, the bow tying of Black Ops 3, so that way it could be put into brackets, and now we can branch off in crazier directions because we know how the cycle continues. So we might be breaking the cycle on Black Ops 4 the entire time.
I think
hope so.
That's what's going to happen, because in Red Austin's interview with Jason Blundell, Jason Blundell said this is more of a jumping off point, a starting point from where we're going to go next.
Okay.
So like, this isn't finite, like this isn't, we're going through this whole loop over and over again. I mean, we are, but it's going to continue, at least that's what I surmised from it, into more crazier directions, like what we just said.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure, and it's only going to get more nuts from here on out. And Monty seems to be just rewriting history altogether, which I find to be extremely interesting and just confusing as well.
Yeah, those radios are pretty cool on the remastered maps.
You guys want to check the Skype chat? I just posted another picture, and I guess this is the only other thing between loading screens and what we got in the Giant to sort of explain Chronicles, really. And it's the loading screen with the Keepers, and it's the Ascension one that has Division 9 Dragon underneath it. And on the way left, we'll see Dr. Monty writing, but he's actually putting his signature down on the giant puzzle pieces that we put together on the map. And he's writing down his signature at the bottom of the page. And this is explaining something insane. And I think this is what maybe Chronicles is focusing on.
Yeah, it looks like the summoning key.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it, like around the square, it has like the circles opening. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is sort of the last loading screen that we got, and it looks like Monty might be just rewriting history, and I guess that's the last thing I kind of want to take from this. It's because Chronicles is a continuation of the story. All these old maps, things are changing, and I think this is the hint towards that happening. And it's actually the change that we're seeing.
No, I think you're right. Like, it seems pretty clear that the Zombie Chronicles maps at least take place after Black Ops 3. Like, we're within the loop again.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the Black Ops 1 edition. Because they make quotes like, they make references to Monty. They make references to the Gobblegum machine being covered in spider webs from an island or something.
Yeah,
like that's from Zetsubo. Yeah,
there was
but
one
they say
I thought
that like when you run up to it on Origins.
Yeah, and like I heard another one was that they had to eat spiders because of the starvation factor on Zetsubo. There was an actual quote about that. I haven't heard it yet.
Weird.
Crazy stuff. The quotes are yet to be discovered. I think there's still quite a bit of juicy quotes out there yet that we can still hear.
I think we'll know more when it comes out on PC.
Oh, so true.
And gets data mined.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. No!
Can't stop that from happening.
More Glitch and Queen videos inbound.
But yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it up for episode 17 of the Power Up Podcast, and that's about it for the Chronicles timeline for now. Until we know more and Treyarch comes out with some more stuff, we'll be sure to have you updated. But you got anything you want to add, Greg?
Also, we might be switching this to SoundCloud weekly. I don't know what the progress is on that, but we might have a link in the description or something.
Yeah, I'll update you guys on that right now. We're going to be moving this primarily to SoundCloud, and this is the first episode we're going to be doing that with. So on our channels, we may or may not be posting the video version. It just depends how it goes. But SoundCloud will primarily be in our descriptions. and you guys can check out our podcast there from here on out. So, Jimbothy, it's been a pleasure, man. Hopefully you had fun talking a little bit of storyline with us.
I really did. It was a very enjoyable experience. And use coupon code JIM for 5% off of your Best Buy purchases from now until September 24th.
All right. Absolutely. Hashtag Jimbothy.
Plug in there.
All right, man. It's been a pleasure having you on, and we'll see you guys next week with another episode. Peace out.
Peace out, guys.